You stand on the edge of the West African coast, the air heavy with salt, dust, and the cries of the broken. You are not alone. Hundreds surround you, shackled, stripped of freedom, stolen from villages, torn from families. And yet, in this moment, you feel utterly alone. You try to remember your name. You whisper it under your breath, as if repeating it will anchor you to the life you once had. But the iron collar around your neck tells you that name no longer matters. To those who march you toward the sea, you are not a son, not a daughter, not a mother or father. You are cargo. The journey to this place was brutal enough. Days, perhaps weeks, of walking in chains, under the whip of armed men who spoke languages you barely understood. Some were strangers, slave raiders who had captured you in the night. Others were men from neighboring villages, coerced or complicit in the trade, who knew the land well and led the march toward the coast. Each step felt like the earth itself was swallowing the world you once knew. Along the way, you saw others collapse from exhaustion. Some were left to die where they fell. Others were beaten until they rose again, staggering forward on trembling legs. Hunger gnawed at your stomach. Thirst cracked your lips. And still the march continued. By the time you reached the coast, your body was weak, but your spirit clung stubbornly to fragments of hope. And then you saw it. The ship. It rose above the shoreline like some monstrous beast, its sails taut in the wind, its masts stabbing the sky. To your eyes, it looked less like a vessel of wood and iron, and more like a predator waiting to swallow you whole. Around you, people wailed when they saw it. Some dropped to their knees, begging their captors to spare them from what lay ahead. Others stared in stunned silence, as if unable to believe this was real. You smelled it before you entered it. Tar, seawater, and the faint odor of rot. The deck was alive with activity. Sailors shouting, ropes tightening, barrels being rolled into place. And then there were the traders, Europeans, their pale faces marked with sweat and determination, their eyes cold with calculation. They inspected you as though you were livestock, fingers pressed into your arms and legs, testing your strength. Teeth pried open like a horse at market. Eyes scanning your body for scars, deformities, or signs of weakness. Some men and women cried out in defiance. Others remained silent, their eyes burning with shame. You, like so many others, were prodded, measured, and marked. Iron shackles were fastened around your wrists and ankles. The metal bit into your skin, cold at first, then searing as it rubbed against flesh. You felt its weight not just on your body, but on your soul. The sound of the chains echoed in your ears, a grim chorus of despair that would follow you across the ocean. You are herded with others toward the mouth of the beast. A narrow plank leads upward into darkness. Some hesitate, digging heels into the earth, but the lash drives them forward. Mothers clutch their children tightly, trying to shield them from the inevitable. Men glance around for any chance of escape, but escape is impossible. Armed guards line every path, and the ocean stretches endlessly beyond. Step by step, you move closer. The cries grow louder, the stench stronger. By the time you cross the threshold, the light of the sun is behind you, and you know that you are leaving more than land behind. You are leaving behind freedom. The belly of the ship yawns open, a space built not for human dignity, but for human storage. The hold is dim, lit only by slivers of light piercing through cracks in the wood. Already, bodies are chained in place, row upon row, pressed so close their limbs overlap. The air is thick, suffocating, heavy with the smell of fear and filth. Your captors push you inside. The iron clinks as you shuffle forward, stumbling over chains, over people who have already collapsed to the floor. You are forced into position, shackled to others, your body pressed against theirs with no room to move. In this moment, reality strikes like a hammer. You will cross the ocean in darkness. You will live side by side with strangers who share your fate. You will endure hunger, thirst, disease, and despair. And if you are lucky, if survival counts as luck, you will emerge on the other side, not as the person you were, but as someone's property. This is the beginning of the Middle Passage, and you are inside it now. The hatch slams shut above you. Darkness swallows everything. At first, your eyes search for shapes, for anything familiar. But the space is so cramped that all you can make out are bodies pressed against you. Skin against skin. Chains against chains. The air is thick, damp and suffocating. Every breath you take feels stolen. The wooden boards beneath you are slick, not with water, but with human waste. Urine trickles in rivulets along the grooves, pooling where the floor dips. Somewhere nearby, a child coughs violently, and the sound is swallowed by the chorus of groans, sobs, and whispered prayers. You shift, trying to find comfort, but there is none. The shackles around your ankles scrape raw against the skin of the person next to you. You try not to move, because every movement rattles the chains, jolts your neighbors, and spreads more misery. You are packed so tightly you can barely turn your head. The smell begins to burn your nose. Sweat, feces, vomit, blood, all mixing into an odor so powerful you gag. You retch, but there is nowhere for it to go, and it splashes against your chest, seeping down into the wood. Above deck, sailors walk, their boots thudding against the planks. You hear muffled laughter, the slam of barrels, the creak of ropes. But none of that sound belongs to your world anymore. Your world is the hold, a pit of shadows, iron, and despair. Time begins to slip away. Is it day? Is it night? You cannot tell. The only rhythm comes from the waves pounding against the hull and the cries of those around you. Hunger gnaws at your stomach. Thirst scorches your throat. When water comes, it is ladled out sparingly, often filthy. When food comes, it is a mush of beans or millet, shoved into your hands or mouth as if feeding animals. Some refuse to eat. They turn their faces away, choosing starvation over slavery. But the sailors do not let death come easily. They pry open mouths with iron instruments, forcing the gruel down throats. Resistance only earns beatings. Disease spreads quickly in this darkness. Dysentery strikes first, people writhing, groaning, soiling themselves where they lie. The stench becomes unbearable, and yet you must breathe it in, every second, every hour. Smallpox leaves scars across faces and bodies. Malaria brings fevers that burn like fire. One by one, the groans fade into silence as bodies grow still. When someone dies, they are not removed immediately. Sometimes you lie beside the dead for hours, even days, until the crew drags the body out and throws it overboard. You hear the splash, and you know the sea has claimed another. Women suffer in different ways. Some are dragged above deck, assaulted by sailors and then thrown back among the rest, their eyes hollow, their bodies trembling. Children cling to their mothers, but hunger weakens their cries until they fade into soft whimpers. Every sound becomes a torment. Chains clinking, the coughing of the sick, the cries of infants, the crack of the whip above deck when someone dares to resist. Even the silence, heavy, suffocating silence when too many voices have been lost, becomes a sound you cannot bear. Your own body begins to betray you. The iron shackles rub your skin raw until sores open. Lice crawl across your scalp, your arms, your legs. Rats scurry across the boards at night, biting at toes and fingers, searching for scraps of food or flesh. Some nights, when the ship is calm, you hear voices in the dark, songs, whispers, prayers in languages you do not know, but understand in your bones. Even here, in this pit, people cling to memory, to rhythm, to something human. For a moment, the chains feel lighter. For a moment, you remember who you are. But the ship always reminds you. A storm rises, the vessel pitches violently, and bodies slam against one another like sacks of grain. The chains cut deeper, the screams rise higher, and panic fills the hold. There is nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, only endless darkness. And so the days pass. You do not count them anymore. Each hour is a lifetime, each breath a battle. You begin to wonder if death would be kinder than survival. For in this belly of the beast, you are not living, you are enduring. The ship groans as it cuts across the Atlantic, waves crashing against its wooden sides. To the sailors, it is another voyage, another trip for profit. To you, it is an endless nightmare that stretches beyond comprehension. The days blur together in darkness. The only measure of time is the rare moments you are dragged above deck for air, exercise, or inspection. The sunlight stings your eyes like knives. Your legs, stiff and weak, tremble when forced to stand. Some collapse immediately, beaten until they rise again. The salt air feels sharp but intoxicating after the stench below. And yet, before long, you are herded back down into the suffocating pit. Hunger gnaws at your insides. The food is little more than mush, sometimes sour, often crawling with insects. Water is rationed, a few gulps from a filthy bucket. It does not quench the thirst that cracks your lips and swells your tongue. Some refuse to eat at all. They turn their heads, close their mouths, and reject the gruel. For them, starvation is not a tragedy but a choice, the only rebellion left. The sailors will not permit it. Their cargo must survive. So mouths are forced open with iron, and food is rammed down throats. Those who resist too long are beaten mercilessly, their bones breaking under the lash. Disease, however, respects no chains. Dysentery sweeps through the hold like a plague. The sick groan, soil themselves, and grow too weak to move. The boards beneath you are slick with filth, seeping into wounds, feeding infection. Smallpox leaves blistered faces and scarred limbs. Malaria brings fever dreams, bodies burning with heat, then shaking with chills. The dying surround you. Each day, new silence replaces groans. Sometimes the dead are left among the living for hours, even days, until the crew removes them. Shackled bodies must be cut free before being dragged up and heaved into the ocean. You hear the splash, the hiss of water swallowing flesh, the weight of chains dragging them down to the abyss. The sea becomes a graveyard. Some do not wait for disease or starvation to take them. They seize their fate. When brought above deck, they leap. Shackles and all, they hurl themselves into the waves, choosing the deep over the lash. For the sailors, this is not tragedy. It is lost profit. Some captains even insure their human cargo, and in storms or sickness, they throw the sick overboard, not out of mercy, but for money. Death, to them, is a financial calculation. Others attempt rebellion. Whispers pass in the dark, plans formed in hushed voices. When the moment comes, chains rattle in fury as captives rise, rushing the crew with bare hands, desperate for freedom. Some fights spill blood on the decks, knives flashing, muskets firing. A few revolts succeed briefly, but most end in massacre. The survivors are punished with brutal whippings, iron masks, or execution. Their courage is remembered only in silence, buried under fear. The sailors themselves live in a strange limbo. Some are cruel, laughing as they beat captives, mocking their suffering. Others show glimpses of pity, sneaking food, loosening chains, or turning their eyes away during punishments. Yet even those who pity cannot undo the system. They are trapped too, by money, by orders, by fear of their captains. At night, when storms rage, the ship pitches violently. You are tossed like cargo, bodies slamming against each other, chains tearing into flesh. Lightning splits the sky, illuminating faces twisted in terror. For a moment, you wonder if the storm itself has come to destroy this ship of misery, to sink it and end the suffering. But the vessel endures, always pressing westward. The sailors call you cargo, goods, stock. Their words strip away what little humanity remains. You are not a mother, not a son, not a child with a name and a history. You are weight and profit. In the darkness, voices rise. Songs, chants, prayers in many tongues. They weave together, carrying memories of homelands, of gods, of ancestors. Even in chains, the spirit refuses to die. The songs frighten the sailors who fear rebellion, yet they cannot silence them all. For those moments, you are reminded that you are not alone, that you are human still. Weeks drag into months. You stop counting. Your body is frail, your spirit worn thin. But somehow, breath still fills your lungs. Each day feels like the last. Each night is another battle against despair. The sea stretches, endless, merciless, indifferent to the agony aboard. By now, you know the truth. Not all will reach the other side. Perhaps you will. Perhaps you will not. Survival itself feels like surrender. And yet, in some small corner of your heart, you cling to it. For to survive this voyage, to endure the middle passage, is the only victory left. One morning, the rhythm of the ship changes. The groan of timbers, the crash of waves, the shouted orders of sailors, all sound different. The air is fresher, touched with scents you have not known in weeks. Soil, smoke, something green and alive. A murmur spreads among the captives. Land. For the first time in what feels like eternity, the hatch opens wide. Sunlight floods the hold. It stings your eyes, blinding you, searing into skin that has known nothing but darkness. The guards bark orders, dragging bodies up into the light. You stumble, weak and trembling, legs refusing to obey. Your lungs drink in the fresh air greedily, though each breath feels strange, too sharp, too clean after the suffocating pit below. The land rises ahead, strange, unfamiliar, but land nonetheless. Some weep with relief. Others stare silently, knowing instinctively that this is not deliverance but another stage of captivity. You feel it too. The chains are still there. Freedom is not waiting on this shore. Once docked, you are herded off the ship. The ground feels unsteady beneath your feet, the earth swaying as though it still carries the sea's rhythm. The guards strike those who stumble, forcing you forward. Crowds gather, their eyes fixed on you. They stare as though you are curiosities, as though your suffering is a spectacle. You are led to a yard, penned in like cattle. Buckets of water are brought, and you drink until your stomach aches, desperate to quench weeks of thirst. Then comes a cruel ritual. You are washed, your skin scrubbed with harsh brushes, oil rubbed into your limbs to make you appear strong and healthy. Wounds are hidden beneath grease. Scars are covered with ash. You are not being cared for. You are being prepared for sale. One by one, you are brought to the auction block. The platform looms, and when you step onto it, all eyes fix on you. Men with coins in their hands circle closer, their gaze sharp, appraising. They prod your arms, pinch your muscles, force open your mouth to inspect your teeth. They discuss your age, your strength, your worth in cold numbers. You hear words like prime, breeding, defective. Mothers clutch their children, but the auctioneer does not see families. He sees units of labor. A child is worth one price, a woman another, a strong young man the highest of all. Families are split without hesitation. A boy is led one way, his mother another, their cries drowned by the auctioneer's booming voice. You watch as bonds of blood are torn apart in seconds, bonds stronger than iron, yet powerless before money. When your turn comes, you stand trembling on the platform. The crowd murmurs, coins clink, hands rise to bid. You try to stand tall, to look strong, though your body is weak. The auctioneer shouts numbers you do not understand, but the gestures are clear. Men competing, not for you as a person, but for you as property. The hammer falls. You are sold. Just like that, your fate is sealed. A stranger now owns you. He takes you as one might take a tool, a horse, an object. Your name does not matter. Your history is irrelevant. To him, you are labor, flesh, profit. Around you, others are sold in the same way. Some cry out in anguish, reaching for loved ones as they are dragged apart. Others stand in stunned silence, too broken to resist. By the day's end, the yard is empty, the block quiet, but the lives it shattered will echo across generations. The middle passage is over, but the nightmare is not. You have survived the ship, only to enter a new kind of captivity. One that will not end with landfall, but stretch across years, perhaps across a lifetime. You are no longer cargo on a ship. You are now property on a plantation. And the horror continues. The ship is gone now. The auction block is silent. The chains remain only in memory. Yet the echoes of the middle passage never disappeared. Over 12 million Africans were forced across the Atlantic. At least 2 million never reached land, their bodies claimed by the ocean. Those who survived carried more than scars. They carried languages, songs, and traditions that would take root in new soil. Out of horror, new cultures were born. In Brazil, in the Caribbean, in the Americas. Music, food, faith, and resistance became living testaments that even chains could not silence the human spirit. The Middle Passage was not just a journey of bodies across an ocean. It was a journey of dehumanization, an attempt to erase identity and turn people into property. Yet survival itself became defiance. Every life lived beyond that ship was proof that cruelty could not extinguish resilience. But its legacy is not buried in the past. The wealth of empires was built on those bodies. The plantations thrived because of their labor. The modern world was shaped by that suffering, and its shadows remain. In memory, in history, in the fight for justice today.
Close your eyes for a moment. Hear the creak of the timbers, the rattle of the chains, the groans in the darkness. Imagine the suffocating air, the iron biting into your skin, the endless ocean around you. This was the Middle Passage. This was the belly of the beast. To remember it is not enough. To tell it is not enough. We must feel it, carry it, and honor those who endured it. Their story is not just history, it is humanity. And if you believe, as we do, that these voices must never be silenced, then stay with us. Subscribe, so together we can uncover more stories that must be remembered. Stories of pain, resilience, and survival that shape who we are today. Because history is not just in books. It is in the echoes of the sea, in the chains that still rattle in memory, and in the courage of those who endured the darkest journey a human being could face. This was the Middle Passage, and we must never forget it.